Right, in this segment, we are going to talk about a couple of things. We are going to talk about job skills, again, particularly transferable skills, and then we're going to talk about tough interview questions and also difficult interview situations. Okay, you've just finished college, and what you have basically on your resume, a piece of paper that says you have a degree from this university and your GPA, and that's about it. You might not have job experience. How do you prepare for the job market? Well, of course, you probably, as I've mentioned before, you might want to look into other opportunities for developing yourself. Internships before you graduate during the summer, while you're in college, do some internships. Um, get involved in community service work, volunteer work, something in the community. Maybe it's unpaid, but it's great for developing yourself. And it's something you can then talk about in a job interview, as we'll see. Getting involved in school clubs, school campus organizations, as well as organizations off campus of some kind, social organizations. Toastmasters is a club for learning and practicing giving speeches, like short speeches. So develop your speech giving skills and public presentation skills. That's a good thing to do. Actually, Toastmasters, like giving a toast. I'd like to propose a toast to so-and-so. Well, it's not just giving toast, but it's practicing speeches in general, speech delivery and public speaking. So do things like that to develop yourself, and you have some other skills, including social skills and leadership skills that you can talk about. And when it comes to the job interview, you can then talk about what we call transferable skills. So to prepare for an interview, you want to talk about not only skills that you have like on paper, like I took a class and I learned, for example, I took a class in linguistic analysis and I know how to explain the development of words in European languages. Okay, great. But is that going to help you in a job interview for an international company? Probably not, unless you know how to talk about it in a different way. It's you took a phonetics class and you learn the acoustics of speech. So it's not just analyzing speech sounds, but it's that knowledge of how the human voice works and acoustics or sound, which could be useful for different kinds of jobs, vocal training jobs, or sound engineer or DJ jobs or something like that. I mean, think of something you learn in a class that can transfer to something really different. This is what we call a transferable skill. And it's something you need to be able to talk about when you say, okay, you have a college degree, not much work experience, why should we hire you? You need to think of some transferable skills. It could be in the literature courses. You've learned a lot about, a lot of novels about people who are down and out, people who are poor, and really difficult situations, like Oliver Twist, Charles Dickens novels. And because of that, you have a better understanding of poor people in other cultures, which might be a good skill if you're applying for an NGO. Okay. Sounds a bit idealistic, but also maybe you should go do some service opportunities in the community or in another country for a few months, where you're also doing some kind of service work to help poor or disadvantaged people too. Think about something in your course, not just head knowledge, but some kind of a skill or ability. From various literature analysis courses, linguistic analysis courses, you've got maybe analytical skills. Think about what analytical skills have you learned in different classes. Think about other skills that you've learned in different courses. or in a particular major, particular specialization or area within your major. And think about some of these other areas here on the screen. And I want you to pause the video and discuss for a while. What kinds of skills do you have from areas like these? A transferable skill where you can take it from one context and apply it in a work setting. Okay, this is going to take some thought. Think for a while. What are some transferable skills you have in these domains that would apply to a work setting? Pause the video and discuss for a good while. Courses, okay? Uh, some of your humanities courses have taught you understanding of different cultures. That's especially relevant to applying for NGOs, for international companies, companies where you're going to be dealing with clients from other countries or going to other countries on behalf of your company. Think about, of course, not just languages you've learned, but the cultural skills and the cultural knowledge you've gotten with those languages and from reading their literature and their news stories. And going to those countries and talking to the people from your travels. Think about those skills. Oh yes, I know that country. I've been there. I spent some time in that city. I know this city and I know what it's like, living there and working, being there. Think about various analytical skills you've gotten in different classes. Philosophy classes, you've gotten critical thinking skills, analytical skills. In various humanities classes like that and others, creative thinking skills, creativity, moral and ethical reasoning skills, social skills. Oh, I understand people from that culture. I have a better idea of how to talk to them on behalf of your company. Same things might go for clubs and hobbies and sports, leadership abilities, social skills, uh, team management skills, team working skills. Same thing for volunteer and service opportunities. Particular skills from internships, maybe at a different kind of company, that would be relevant here. At least I know what it's like to work in a busy, stressful office, or I know what it's like to work in a job where people aren't telling me what to do, but I've got to figure out what I need to do, and I've got to, organize myself and adapt to a relatively unorganized or unstructured situation and function successfully and figure out what other people need from me and meet those needs. Military service, of course, for some of you, you've probably gotten some relevant transferable skills from your military service. Think about other activities. What are some other activities that might give you some transferable skills, and what skills? Think for a bit. Okay, so some skills and other qualifications from some other areas. I'll just read a list to you. Listen. Academic awards and honors. And what does it show about your work habits, your study habits, your intellectual abilities, especially if it involved overcoming limitations and difficulties and hardships? Other accomplishments, again, athletics, sports, um, certificates and licenses, maybe social, religious activities. Be careful with religious and political activities, though, in terms of how you talk about it. You don't want to be too specific. Say you went with a religious organization and did some service work in, Thailand or something like that. Be as neutral as possible. Companies are not going to be comfortable if you identify with a particular religious or political orientation, especially if it's like a left wing, if it's a big company and they're not comfortable with, employees who have a background in left-wing Marxist or pro-union campus organizations, and think this person's going to be a troublemaker. Unfair stereotype, I know, but be careful, because you never know. The person interviewing you or your future boss, you don't know. They might be of a very strong religious persuasion, a very strong left-wing or right-wing political persuasion. Maybe they just the person is a militant atheist. And I've, even though I don't believe in religion, I don't like people who are too militant and narrow-minded about their atheism, regardless of your beliefs, whether you're atheist or Protestant or Catholic or Buddhist. One, you had to have an open mind about different belief systems, or at least appreciate the complexity and variety of different belief systems. But in a work environment, you have to be careful. Don't just come out and say, I'm this, especially in an interview. Because if it seems like you're just trying to use maybe the workplace to push your beliefs, they're not going to want to hire you. If you identify too strongly and you say, I belong to this church or this political movement, don't be specific. Be as neutral or general as possible in your descriptions and as positive as possible, so that you don't scare them or make them uncomfortable just because you're being too specific about identifying your politics or your religion or your hatred of a particular group. You can talk about, again, clubs, extracurricular activities, computer skills. If you've gained computer skills either through courses, certificate programs, computer boot camps, or just learned on your own, that's great to talk about. Different kinds of computer skills. That's a plus. The fact that you learned something on your own, you were an English major, but you learned programming on your own because you were just interested. Even that says something interesting about you, hopefully, other than that you're a hopeless nerd like me. Okay. I'm not a programming person. I'm more of a computer hardware and software person myself. But anyway, conferences, seminars, foreign study programs, that's great. If you spend time in another country or living, working there, that's really good to talk about. What is it about your cultural, social awareness and social skills, social cultural knowledge that you can talk about? Institute courses, internships, language skills, talk about your language skills. Be as specific as possible. For example, you have intermediate or higher reading ability in this language, or you're fully fluent, or you're proficient, or you can get around in the language in the country. And be specific. Don't exaggerate your abilities. Be specific. They probably want to know exactly what your skills are, like speaking, reading, writing, or I can read technical German and I can write in medium level, proficient level, kind of French, but not, I can't do, let's say, if you can't do technical French, okay, just be specific about what your exact level is. Leadership experience, and that could be in previous jobs or in clubs or social activities, social groups. Mechanical skills, fixing things, mentoring, tutoring, any kind of mentoring or tutoring you've done, military, music and performing arts, that might be interesting, at least as a hobby. Any job training you've done, organizational skills, part-time and temporary jobs, and hopefully you can put those in your resume at least. Professional, if you've belonged to any professional organizations or organizations specific to a particular field, any particular programs and courses that you've taken that are relevant in college or outside of college, public speaking experience, if you've done any writing experience, writing skills, student government, teaching, informal teaching or formal teaching, travel, Not just like, oh, I like to go to other countries and drink there. No, I mean relevant, culturally enlightening travel experience, study abroad experience, experience living abroad, or a significant travel experience, and how that has enlightened you. Workshops and things like that. So those are some things you can talk about where you can find some transferable skills. Think of some specific activities you've done and accomplishments you've had in some of these different areas, both in college or outside of college classrooms. Look at these verbs, these past tense verbs, and try to think of some things that you have done using verbs like these or others. I've acted, I've advised, I've analyzed such and such. And again, be specific. What are some specific things you've done that you could say in an interview? So pause this video, look at this for a while, and come up with some things that you can list in a job interview. Now let's move on to some tough questions. Now I've got a whole list, and I don't really have time to go through all of these, but just a sample of some kinds of tough questions that they might ask you. Here's one. If you were to fail this interview, why do you think you would fail it? Yes, this is a real question that some companies have asked. And I have information from a friend of mine who teaches business English. And so I know from him that his students applying for Korean companies or foreign companies in Korea have been asked questions like this. They're fishing, they're testing you. It doesn't mean you have failed the interview. Don't assume you failed the interview. The moment you assume you failed, your performance is going to go down and they're going to see you've lost confidence. So for one thing, they're testing your confidence and maybe fishing for any weaknesses. What would you say? Well, I guess it was because I drank too much last night. Don't say that. Don't say anything like that. Have a good response. I mean, don't be insincere, but think about a weakness that you might say, oh, maybe because I'm overqualified. I'm not sure if that's a really good response. Maybe, oh, I overthink things. So maybe I overthink how to answer your questions, and maybe I take too long to respond because I'm overthinking my answers. Something that I could say because I do overthink things. I'm that kind of person. But don't assume you've actually failed it. They're testing you. So be ready for some kind of a test like that. This job is not related to your major. Why are you applying? Have good reasons. One, transferable skills that we just talked about. Have transferable skills ready that you can talk about. But two, also have a credible explanation. You're an English major. Why are you applying for a tech company or a conglomerate? Why? Surely you have a good reason for why you're applying, not just, oh, I need the job. Please, I need the job. Please, please, I'm desperate. Please, no. Have a good reason. Well, in this company, there are opportunities for me to use these skills, such as, I mean, have specific answers. How you think your skills would be relevant to some kind of job at that company. My verbal skills, my language skills, my technical background. I like IT and computers and stuff. So I would be a good candidate for your company because I could help write your technical manuals. You need technical writers who can write good manuals for customers who buy your products. I know you make electronics, and even though my college degree says English major, I like computers. I know computer stuff, and I'm good at writing. I can write technical manuals for your products. And have some good examples. Like I've looked at some of your technical manuals or instruction manuals for your products, and I see some problems, especially with the English versions. and the German versions of your manuals, and I can help. You need some help there, I can help you. So it may be also good if you can identify a need or a problem with the company where you can help. Don't be too uh, arrogant, you need me because you're really not good at this. But like, I can see you have a need in this area. You have a need for better uh, technical writers for different languages for your manuals, your product manuals, and that's where I can help. Why did you leave your previous job? This can be a tough one if you've left a previous job. Now, in my case, I've had my last couple of jobs have been good experiences, moderate to pretty good. My last job, actually, I really enjoyed. And it was kind of sad to leave. It was a really good job. But this one was good too. I'm happy here too. Both good jobs. But I was asked, why do you hate Code? I don't hate Code. I'm just leaving because this is a better job. This is a career advancement for me. So I came to this job because it was an advancement from a yearly teaching job to a permanent tenure track job where I can do research. In my last job, I wasn't able to do my research because I had such a heavy teaching load, and research is not something it was not part of our schedule or our job description, and they didn't really allow time for us to do research. This is a better job for my career, for my family. Such wanted to get away from Seoul, which is really expensive. And I think Busan is going to be a better place for my son to grow up in. I had positive reasons. I did not hate my last job. I had jobs in the past I hated and I had to get out. Yes, we all have those experiences. But don't say, one of my coworkers is a psycho and I have to get out. My boss is a jerk. My boss is an idiot. My boss is evil. Don't be negative. You might have a good negative reason for leaving. Don't say it. Even if you do have a valid reason for hating your job or coworkers who are crazy or stupid, don't say it in an interview. It's not something to bring up during an interview. It's not appropriate. There's no way they can verify it. If they call your past company and they say, "Oh, were his coworkers actually crazy?" They're not going to say that. They're not going to say, "Oh, yeah, that's right. In fact, his supervisor was fired later for inappropriate behavior." No. They cannot confirm or verify it. It's your word alone. And it just sounds negative. You're going to sound like you have a bad attitude. Or at least they're going to assume that. And you don't want to sound like a person with a bad attitude. They're going to think, okay, well, if they didn't like the last job, they might not like it here at this company. They might have a bad attitude here. So this person is a risk. Don't want to hire this person. They sound negative. No matter how valid your complaint is with your past job, don't say it. Find a way to be positive. I'm looking for new challenges, and this is true actually, something I think I did say or could have said. I was at one job previously, several jobs ago, and there were some problems in the work environment, but mainly I had been there for about 4 years, and I had just really gotten to a point where I wasn't really doing anything new in my job. I wasn't learning anything new. It was no longer challenging. It was boring. And I really did say in an interview, I want some new challenges. I want to do something different, something that maybe aligns more with my linguistic interests and my language teaching interests. So I'm looking, for to learn some new things and to do something new and different. And that was sincere. Rather than talking about the problems at my previous workplace, I did honestly say I need some new challenges or something new and something different. So think carefully about why you might say that if you were having to change jobs. All right, here's an interesting twist. Sometimes, especially companies will hit you with a problem-solving question, and it's a question that has nothing to do with the job or the company. You're applying for maybe an office job, a management job or something, and they ask you a question like this: how long would it take to excavate or dig out Mount such and such? Like, I think in this was a real question I heard about from that a company would give its applicants. And I think the example was Mount Fujiyama in Japan. Not that they're not really interested in just destroying the beautiful mountain, don't worry. Um, but think of some well-known mountain, and how long would it take to excavate or dig out the dirt and rock and haul it away in trucks? Okay, this is a strange question. What they are doing is they're testing your problem-solving abilities. They're not interested in you coming up with the correct final answer. What they want to know is you can show that you know how to start tackling the problem, how to set up the problem. So in this case, the answer, not the answer like, oh, it would take this long, but you just explain to them, okay, how would you start solving this problem? So a mountain mathematically is a conic shape, like cone, like an ice cream cone. The mathematical term for that kind of shape is conic, conic shape, a cone or conic shape. And of course, if you know the formula for the volume of a 3D conic shape, uh, and I think this person probably is assumed to have some math background. So it's okay. I know the formula for the volume of a conic shape. And so I would calculate the volume of the mountain, the approximate volume of dirt and rock. Then a truck, how much dirt can one truck haul away at a time? I would kind of guess the volume based on the size of the truck. I would guesstimate, okay, it's these trucks, it's about 2 meters by 4 meters by 1 meter or something like that much dirt at one time. So assuming you can fill up one truck every 15 minutes, 4 trucks an hour with this volume, okay, this is how I would do it. So what they want you to do is show that you would at least know how to set up or start solving the problem. They're not looking for the correct final answer. Oh, it would take 2 months and 3 days. No, show that you know how to start solving the problem. You know how to handle problem solving. Okay, I think in the next segment we are going to start talking about red flags. A red flag is like a sign that something is wrong, either a sign that something is not right about the company or in the interview, or with the applicant. The interviewers see something in the applicant that sends up a red flag, a sign that something's wrong. We'll talk about that next time.